20. 20 impalas. I want you to hold that number in your head. 20. Not 20 rands, not 20 cases. 20 living, breathing impalas. Wild game. The kind you put on a farm. The kind that costs real money. The kind that does not just appear on your property without someone making a phone call, arranging transport, and paying the bill. Because by the end of this video, that number is going to mean a lot more than wildlife. It is going to crack open one of the most uncomfortable moments in the history of SAPS leadership. And it all traces back to one man, one commission, one alleged underworld figure, and one very specific question that a senior general allegedly could not answer cleanly under oath. If this is your first time here, welcome to Mzansi Breakdown. We do not do clickbait summaries. We do not do gossip. We go step by step, post by post, claim by claim, and then we ask the questions nobody else wants to ask. So hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already. We are not going to stop digging. Not on this one. Let us get into it. The date is February 23rd, 2026. Hold that date too. February 23rd, 2026. The Medlanga Commission of Inquiry is in session. Now, if you are not familiar with this commission, let me give you some context, because it matters. The Medlanga Commission was established to investigate allegations of corruption, misconduct, and factional interference within the South African Police Service. We are talking about SAPS, the institution that is supposed to protect 62 million South Africans, the institution that is supposed to be above reproach, the institution that, according to a growing mountain of testimony, may have deep internal problems involving relationships with alleged criminal networks. This commission is led by retired Justice Sisi Kampepe and retired Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga. It is not a casual conversation. It is a formal inquiry with subpoena power, sworn testimony, and legal consequences for anyone who lies under oath. And on February 23rd, 2026, one of the most senior figures to face this commission takes the stand. General Shadrack Sibiya. Now, Cibia is not a small name. According to multiple South African news outlets including EWN, The Mail and Guardian, Business Day, and IOL, he is a high-ranking figure within SAPS. The kind of person whose decisions affect operations, personnel, and investigations across the country. The kind of person who, when he speaks, the institution behind him either stands tall or starts to wobble. And on this day, according to every outlet that covered it, he wobbles. Here is what happened, according to the reports. During cross-examination at the Madlanga Commission, Cibia was asked directly about a transaction involving 20 impalas, not metaphorical impalas, not some kind of code name, not a figure of speech, 20 actual antelope, live animals. According to testimony presented at the commission, these 20 impalas were allegedly purchased by a man named Vusimuzi Matlala. You might know him better by his street name, Cat Matlala. Now, if that name does not ring a bell, pay close attention, because according to multiple South African media reports, Cat Matlala has been described as an alleged underworld figure, someone whose name has appeared repeatedly in connection with serious criminal networks operating in parts of Gauteng and beyond. That is not something I am manufacturing. That is what has been reported consistently by credible South African outlets over multiple years. So here is the picture being painted at the commission. A man described in the press as an alleged crime figure reportedly purchases 20 impalas, and the suggestion being explored under oath in front of the commission, with cameras present, is that those impalas were destined for General Shadrack Sibiya. Cibia's response? He denies it. He denies receiving the impalas. He denies the connection implied by the purchase. According to EWN's reporting on the proceedings, Cibia told the commission he did not receive impalas from Cat Matlala. Straightforward denial, clean, simple, except it did not stay clean for long.
Do you recall impalas being delivered to your home?
I've never had impalas delivered to my home.
Have you had impalas being delivered to any of your properties?
I have had, when I bought my property 9 years ago, Chair, when I bought my property 9 years ago, the previous owner, who was my next door neighbor, who said to me, I would like to have my kids next to me, and would you mind if I buy you out? I said, in any event, I want actually a plot because I like the farm life than this ones. So he says, okay, we agreed on an amount. Then he said to me, on a Sunday, he said, can you and your wife come, let me go show you something that I have. He has. And he took us there, and I saw a nice plot with animals. Those, it was the water bugs, different type of animals, emus. There were two, and there were sheep. He said, I'll leave this with you because they rounded in the price.
Where was this exactly?
In Mnandi, in Centurion, near Copperleaf.
And when was this exactly?
9 years ago. I was already fired by the police, and when they gave me money, I bought that place. That's what happened. Now, I procured that place, as I bought that place, purchased that place, what I found it with some animals in them. And I carried on with the animals, but let me not go deep. I will explain as time goes on. But impalas were never delivered in my office, other than whatever that I bought myself, I was buying gradually, because I went and bought a whole number of other, I went and bought sheep, goats, and added with some of the, I think I bought something like 4 or 6 impalas at that time. They were bought by my gardener at that time was a guy who used to work for me, and then he was a Zimbabwean. The police will know about him in Oliver and Old Bosch. Will know about that guy because at some point he fought with his girlfriend, and then they were looking for him. He ran away. But at that time he was my gardener at that time. He was the one taking my kids to school as well, and then he was a driver as well. So whatever that I needed, I sent him around. So that is what happened. So I had a number of animals in the place.
Okay, but that was, you say, about 2017?
Yeah, 2017, 18 years.
Okay.
Here is where it gets complicated, and I mean really complicated. According to reports from Business Day, when Cibia was pressed further on the Impala transaction, he did not simply maintain his blanket denial. He allegedly shifted the focus to another individual, someone the commission refers to as Witness F. Now stop right there. Witness F.
Okay. So you received a voice note asking you where must the impalas be delivered, and then you call Witness F. Do you recall the content of your conversation with Witness F?
With Witness F, yeah.
After he sent you this voice
Yes.
note.
I don't know if I should read from my statement, but because of the truth is your truth is what happened. What I can say basically is that as the animals kept on dying, and they were dying, I am left with one. Some call it impala, some call it bugs, some call it what is the right word? But what is still there now. These are the animals that I found in the plot. Is this one that will have horns, that will have that look like a tree, but they died one by one.
When did they die?
Some will call it water bug. But now that I had...
So, but when did they die?
They died gradually since from 20... I may not be right in terms of the date, but they were dying. You will find 1 or 2 dead. But when I started building the wall, a lot of them were eating the rope. As they deliver the bricks that build the wall, then at night, I don't know, they eat this rope that ties the bricks so that they don't fall apart. Now, when you wake up in the morning, you find that the stomach is raised and it's dead. So they were that's how they died gradually. And then that's when I sent one of my guys to try and replace, because they were almost to nothing. I was left with something like 6, somewhere there. I'm not reading my statement now. But the last ones that died, they died around, I don't know whether it was, but it was, I've got a date maybe when I go through the statement. But then what I did is, because Nkosi, I was already acquainted to him now, because they come to my office, to my house regularly. Even everybody, when it's just that, commissioners, I don't want to explain a too long story as if like I must stick to the story, but it needs a background and an explanation. When they come to my place, they've known that I've got goats and sheep, and
They being who?
when I say they, with the excitement that I had when I was back to the police, we had a good relationship with the National Commissioner. They were coming a lot also to my place, and other colleagues, senior management. They could see there are no bugs. There has been bugs. Now there has been bugs, but I had that one that is still there now. Now, it was very frustrated, because sometimes you see it running all over, and then sometimes jumping on goats or sheep. Then I said to Fanny, I don't have time to go look for a mate for this thing. I'm all over, I'm working, and even my family will not see me, because I would leave 4 o'clock in the morning, come late when the children are sleeping. Then he was normally helping me. He said, no, don't worry, Mpati, I will assist you to get one. A maid. Now, when at some point in a meeting, I was in meetings, long meetings, then I did get that voice note that says, he forwarded it to me. As to how, because Nkosi, he said in one of his statements, he's a professional hunter, he's a hunter as well, that I know farmers that will assist you with this thing. I said, it's okay. Then he sent me that voice note. To me, it's okay. He said you'll find it now. He said, where the bugs, the impalas. Now, I needed only one, but I thought maybe he wasn't so sure he took a male and a female. But he said the bugs, the impalas. Now, when he said the bugs and the impalas, when I got a break, I called him. I said, I just hope you know what I want, what is in the yard, not any other. And then already at that time, in their mind, it was impalas. I said, no.
If you have been following this commission, you know that witnesses are sometimes given letter designations to protect their identity. That is standard legal procedure. But the moment Cibia reportedly redirected attention to witness F, the entire energy in the room shifted. According to Business Day's account, Cibia allegedly suggested that witness F had a more direct connection to the Impala purchase. In other words, the implication being explored is that Cibia's defense was not just, I did not receive them. It was closer to, talk to witness F about that. And the commission did not accept that redirect quietly. According to those who reported on the proceedings, the cross-examination became heated, visibly heated. The word that kept appearing across every headline was the same: grilled. Cibia was grilled, not politely questioned, not gently walked through his version of events. Grilled.
And you said something about when it comes to crossing the line, I hold back. But more directly, your evidence is, I spoke to him about the wrong animals. I don't want the wrong animals. But two, I don't want anything from a service provider.
I was not going to accept
Yes.
from a service provider.
You told him, that's what you say, you told him.
Yes.
And I understand Ms. Hassim to say, well, if you did tell him that you don't want anything from a service provider, how come you've sent a pin drop, but also your address, but importantly, Mr. Matlala is arranging for the same things to be at 10:36. Arrangements are being made to get this stuff delivered to your address. If you said to Mr. Nkosi, I don't want anything from a service provider.
Commissioner, I think at some point because there are technical aspects to this whole thing, such as, for an example, yes, I mentioned the ways that I was not going to accept anything from a service provider. And I don't remember expressly saying no. As he said, it is from CAD. I don't remember saying expressly to Nkosi that I don't want to accept it because it is from CAD. I've never said that. I said I was not going to. And then as a result, at the same time, I knew about crossing the lines. And then I knew the danger zone now. And then I knew that I had to now step back. And then how I stepped back, I didn't just say, hey, why did you contact Kat? Why did you do this? No, I just said, this is not what I need. And I left it at there.
The reason is logical. When you deny receiving something and then you point to someone else, the follow-up questions write themselves. If it was not for you, why does the evidence suggest otherwise? And if Witness F is the real connection, what exactly is your relationship to Witness F? Did Witness F act independently? Did Witness F act on your behalf? Did you benefit in any way from whatever Witness F allegedly arranged? According to the reports, those are exactly the kinds of questions that came up. And according to the tone described by journalists in the room, the answers were not satisfying the commission. Let me pause here and do something important. Let me separate what we know from what is being alleged, because I refuse to blur those lines. What is on the record? Cibia appeared before the Madlanga Commission on February 23, 2026. That is confirmed by EWN, Mail and Guardian, Business Day, and IOL. What is on the record? He was questioned about a transaction involving 20 impalas linked to Kat Matlala. Multiple outlets reported this consistently and independently. What is on the record? He denied receiving the impalas. That denial is part of his sworn testimony before the commission. What is on the record? According to Business Day, he shifted focus to Witness F when pressed on the details of the transaction. What is alleged, but not yet proven? That Kat Matlala purchased the impalas specifically for Cibia's personal benefit. This is part of the narrative being tested at the commission. It has not been established as fact by any court or final finding. What is alleged, but not yet proven? That the relationship between Cibia and Matlala goes deeper than a casual or incidental acquaintance. This is something the commission appears to be actively probing. What is interpretation and public opinion? Many South Africans watching this unfold online believe the denial does not hold up. That is sentiment. That is reaction. That is not a legal conclusion. I am keeping those lanes separate because that is how you do this properly, and you deserve to know which lane you are in at every point of this video.
Nowhere do you mention having impalas on your property from the get-go, from when you bought the property. You don't mention I had impalas. You tell us antelopes, unless you're referring to impalas when you say antelopes, but you say antelopes, blesbok, and emus. So you don't mention impalas anyway in your statement. The first time you say there were impalas on your farm is now in your oral evidence. You say to us that you earlier said your gardener had obtained for you impalas, but that's the first time, and it's quite curious and notable that your statement does not own up to having impalas on your property, and it comes out now in examination. And it comes up in examination after you've seen the pictures and you've seen the WhatsApp message that says one of them died today on the 27th of March. And it leads to the unavoidable conclusion that you always had impalas supplied before when you bought, and that's what you refer to when you say antelopes. Maybe you always had them. But then you tell us that the last died in November 2023. That is if I substitute antelope for impalas. Then the last one would have died in November 2023, and you didn't have any after that. Then there's that Rudy, Mr. Matlala, Sergeant Ngosi communication. And now we know that on the 27th of March, 2024, you did have impalas on your farm. Can you just make it make sense? Reconcile what I've put to you, your failure to mention impalas ever in your statements, telling us about antelopes, blessbox, and emus only, and what you are telling us now about owning impalas.
Now, let us talk about the public reaction, because this is where the story went from commission testimony to national conversation. The moment the Impala testimony hit the news cycle on February 23rd, social media caught fire. The phrase, 20 Impalas, started circulating everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp groups, news comment sections. People were mocking it. People were furious. Some were making dark jokes about wildlife being the new currency of corruption in South Africa. Others were dead serious, saying this is exactly the kind of gift exchange that signals deeper entanglement between law enforcement leadership and criminal networks. And here is the thing. The reaction was not just noise. Some of the commentary was incredibly specific. People were pulling up old posts, old interviews, old references to relationships between SAPS officials and individuals with alleged underworld ties. People were connecting patterns. People were asking why this commission keeps surfacing the same types of allegations, gifts, favors, relationships with people who operate outside the law. One phrase kept coming up in comment sections and threads across platforms. If they are giving you impalas, what else are they giving you? That question is not coming from journalists. It is coming from ordinary South Africans who are watching a senior police general navigate uncomfortable questions under oath about 20 animals. And the implication behind that question is heavy, because nobody believes this story begins and ends with wildlife. Let me bring in some numbers here, because this story has a financial layer that most coverage has been skipping over, and I think it matters. 20 impalas. If you look at the going rate for live impala in South Africa, you are looking at anywhere between 1,500 and 4,000 rands per animal. That range depends on age, sex, genetics, and whether you are buying from a private breeder, a game farm, or at a wildlife auction. Prices fluctuate by season and by region. But let us use a conservative middle estimate to build a baseline. At roughly 2,500 rands per animal, 20 impalas puts you in the range of 5,000 rands. Now, 50,000 rands is not millions. On the surface, it might seem like a relatively modest amount. But that is not the point. Not even close. The point is what the gift represents in context. In South African law, and under SAPS internal conduct regulations, accepting gifts from members of the public is already a sensitive area. Accepting gifts from individuals who are allegedly under investigation or who have been described as linked to criminal enterprises is not just a disciplinary matter. It can potentially cross into criminal territory depending on what was expected in return. According to reporting from the Mail and Guardian, the Commission is not merely asking whether the impalas were received. They are asking why they were offered. What was the relationship? What was the context? Was this a gesture of friendship between two people who happened to know each other? Or was this something with an implied expectation of return? And this is where the forensic accounting question gets sharp. If someone who is allegedly connected to organized crime is spending 5,000 rands on animals for a police general, you have to ask a basic question. What does that person gain from the transaction? What is the return on investment from the other side? According to analysts and legal commentators quoted in the South African press, even small gifts in this context can function as leverage. They create a relationship of obligation, a sense of owing something. And once that sense of obligation exists, the asks can begin. A phone call that gets answered when it should not. A case file that moves a little slower. A piece of information that gets shared when it should stay locked. I am not saying that happened in this case. I want to be crystal clear about that. I am saying that is the analytical framework that anti-corruption investigators use when they look at gift patterns between public officials and alleged criminal figures. And it appears to be the same framework the Madlanga Commission is applying to this testimony. The impalas are not the scandal. What the impalas might represent is the scandal.
You refer to the kind of animal that is in those pictures. Now, on that basis, you then, in paragraph 36, if you would go to your statement, you then, in paragraph 36, and you now say, the last of the antelope passed away in November 2023. Given this discussion that we've had where you're not giving a straight answer about what is an antelope, and I've told you that I'm accepting your answer to be an antelope is what is in the picture, you say they died, the last died in November 2023. So, you no longer have antelopes from November 2023 or beyond November 23. That's what you tell us. And then you say, I then started looking for a blessed bok. You do know the difference. You know that a blessed bok is on your own statement. You distinguish an antelope from a blessed bok. You now no longer have antelopes. Mr. Matlala offers to get blessed boks for you. I think it's Van der Merwe says they will be delivered. Mr. Matlala says to Mr. Van der Merwe, check your account, which means payment has gone through. They are to be delivered. Yes.
I hear the commissioner saying Mr. Matlala then offers.
Yes.
I don't remember saying Mr. Matlala offered to.
Mr. Matlala tells Sergeant Nkosi, sends Sergeant Nkosi a voice note about delivery of impalas. You remember that WhatsApp exchange?
Okay.
Okay. And then we had another WhatsApp exchange that was put in a series that was put on the screen where the farm manager says they will be delivered. Right? You remember that WhatsApp exchange? Thank you. So, I don't want us to lose track of the facts that are emerging from your statement and from your evidence. It is that your last antelope died in November 2023. Your exchange with General Sintumule on the 27th of March 2024, that was HKS 12, shows antelopes, what you call antelopes, which everyone else says it's impalas, having died that morning. And in between, there's no explanation when did you get them again. You deny you got them from Mr. Matlala. So the picture that emerges is you are not being truthful when you say beyond November, you say the last died in November 2023 and I never had them after that, in your statement at least. You're not being truthful. You actually procured them after this and they died, the last one died the morning of the 27th of March.
Now, there is another element floating around this story that I need to address, and I want to handle it carefully. According to some reports and widespread social media discussion, there are claims about a possible leaked audio connected to this broader investigation. I want to be very direct with you. I have not independently verified any leaked audio. I have not heard authenticated clips. What I can tell you is that the possibility of such recordings existing has become part of the public conversation surrounding Cibia's testimony and the Commission in general. If such audio exists, and if it contains what some online voices claim it contains, it could potentially complicate Cibia's position before the Commission. It could potentially contradict elements of his denial. But that remains a significant if. And until such audio is formally authenticated, entered into the Commission's evidence record, or reported on by a credible outlet with independent verification, I am treating it as unconfirmed. I am flagging it because you are going to see people referencing it online. I want you to understand the difference between verified evidence and viral speculation. We deal in what can be sourced, not in what sounds dramatic. Let us zoom out now, because this is not just about 20 impalas. This is not even just about General Sibiya, as significant as his testimony is. This is about the Madlanga Commission itself and what it represents for South Africa. SAPS is an institution that has faced mounting public criticism for years. Trust in the police service has been declining. Communities across the country have expressed frustration about crime levels, response times, and the perception that some within the service are not operating with integrity. The Medlanga Commission was designed to address exactly those concerns, to dig into the structure, to examine whether relationships between senior officers and alleged criminal figures have compromised the ability of SAPS to do its job. And the Cibia Impala testimony is turning into one of the most visible and most publicly discussed flashpoints of the entire inquiry. The reason is simple. The story is easy to understand. You do not need a law degree. You do not need a background in forensic accounting, a general, an alleged crime boss, 20 animals, a denial, a redirect to a mysterious witness. Everyone can follow that narrative. Everyone can form a question around it. And that accessibility is exactly why it has captured national attention in a way that more complex financial testimony might not. According to IOL's reporting, Cibia denied any wild game links to Cat Matlala during his commission appearance. But the commission's line of questioning strongly suggested that evidence had already been presented, possibly from Witness F or other sources, that challenged that denial directly. When a denial is challenged under oath at a formal commission of inquiry, with the nation watching, the stakes are not just professional, they are potentially legal. Misleading a commission of inquiry is a serious matter under South African law. If testimony is later shown to be false, the consequences go beyond embarrassment. This is where the phrase game over starts to feel less like a pun and more like a real possibility. Let us come back to Witness F for a moment, because I believe this person might be the most important figure in this entire chapter of the commission. According to Business Day's reporting, Cibia brought up Witness F as part of his response during the heated cross-examination. The implication, as reported, was that Witness F had some more direct connection to the Impala transaction. But here's the problem with that strategy. If Witness F is someone within Cibia's professional or personal circle, someone who acted in proximity to him, someone whose actions ultimately benefited Cibia even indirectly, then pointing to Witness F does not clear Cibia. It potentially implicates him further. It suggests awareness. It suggests a chain. It suggests that even if Cibia did not personally hand over money for 20 impalas, the transaction may have occurred within his orbit, and the commission clearly recognized that, because according to the reports, the questioning did not ease up when Cibia mentioned Witness F. It intensified. The grilling got harder. The follow-ups got sharper. That tells you something critical. It suggests the commission may already have testimony or documentary evidence from Witness F that does not align with Cibia's version. If those two accounts contradict each other under oath, one of them is not telling the truth, and the commission's entire purpose is to determine who. We do not yet know what Witness F has said. We do not yet know what evidence the Commission holds that it has not made public. But the intensity of the questioning on February 23rd suggests they are holding cards we have not seen yet. So where does this leave us? I have 3 questions, and I want you to sit with them. Really think about them. Because these are the questions that are going to define the next chapter of this commission. Question 1. If Cibia truly had no knowledge of the 20 impalas and no meaningful relationship with Cat Matlala, why did the cross-examination become so heated? What evidence does the commission already possess that made them push a senior general that hard in a public proceeding? Commissions do not grill witnesses for theater. They grill because they have something. Question 2. Who is Witness F? What is their actual relationship to Cibia? And critically, what did Witness F tell the commission before Cibia took the stand? Because if Witness F's earlier testimony is what triggered this entire line of questioning about impalas, then Witness F might be the single most important figure in this chapter of the inquiry, and the public does not even know their name. Question 3. This is the big one. If a pattern is established, if the commission ultimately finds that gifts, favors, or financial benefits were exchanged between alleged criminal figures and senior SAPS officials, what does that mean for every case those officials ever touched? How far back does the contamination go? How many investigations were influenced? How many arrests were clean? How many convictions now carry an asterisk? That is what 20 impalas could really cost South Africa. Not 5,000 rands, not one general's career. The credibility of an entire institution that 62 million people are supposed to trust with their safety. I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this denial holds up under the weight of what the commission appears to have? Do you think Witness F is the real story here? Do you think there is more coming that we have not seen yet? And tell me this, what do you think the commission is going to find when they put all the pieces together? Like this video if you made it to the end. Share it with someone who needs to understand what is happening at the Medlanga Commission. And subscribe to Mzansi Breakdown. Hit that bell so you do not miss a single update, because we are going to stay on this commission. Every session, every revelation, every contradiction, every uncomfortable answer. This is not about animals. This is about accountability. This is about whether the people who are supposed to protect South Africa can be trusted to do it without strings attached. And we are not done. Not even close.